Have you ever found yourself staring at something you need to do, fully aware of it, maybe even caring about it deeply, and yet your body doesn't move? You know the steps, you've done similar things before, there's no mystery about what needs to happen, and still, you sit there. Minutes pass. The longer you sit, the heavier it feels. It's frustrating in a quiet way, not dramatic, just confusing. You start asking yourself why something so simple feels so hard. You tell yourself to just begin. You promise you'll start in a minute. You try to summon motivation. Nothing shifts. From the outside, it might look like procrastination. From the inside, it feels more like a stall, like the engine is running but the car isn't moving. Most people explain this as laziness or lack of discipline, but that explanation never quite fits because you do care. You think about your responsibilities. You probably overthink them. You imagine how good it would feel to finish. You imagine the relief, the pride, the freedom, and yet the starting line feels miles away. The common story says this is about effort, that if you wanted it badly enough, you'd do it, that strong people push through, that motivated people act. But in these moments, you're not lacking desire, you're not even lacking clarity, you're lacking movement. There's a difference. When this happens, it's tempting to reach for big explanations, to label it, to analyze it, to search for the right framework. But the lived experience is simpler and more personal than that. You're stuck because the first step feels heavier than it should. Not objectively heavier, internally heavier. The task in front of you isn't just a task anymore, it's layered. It carries expectation. It carries the possibility of getting it wrong. It carries the memory of other times you struggled to begin. It carries the quiet pressure of time already lost. All of that gathers into the present moment, and your body hesitates. You might notice something important here. You're not blank when you're stuck. Your mind is active. You're thinking about the task constantly. You're replaying it, imagining it, arguing with yourself about it. That mental noise is not laziness, it's tension. When tension builds, the body doesn't move freely, it tightens. This is why telling yourself to just start often makes it worse. Now you're not only facing the task, you're facing frustration about the task. The pressure doubles, the weight increases. The starting point becomes symbolic. The pause stretches, and with every passing minute, self-doubt grows. You start asking yourself why you can do difficult things in other contexts, but freeze here. Why you can help other people with their work, but stall on your own. The inconsistency feels personal. It feels like a flaw in your character. It isn't. What you're experiencing is a moment where the emotional weight of starting outweighs the perceived safety of staying still. Staying still keeps the outcome hypothetical. As long as you don't start, the result can still be imagined as perfect. Starting makes it real, and reality is vulnerable. There's also the quieter influence of exhaustion. Not necessarily physical exhaustion, but the kind that comes from carrying too many open loops, too many unfinished thoughts, too many expectations, your own and others. When you've been under pressure for a long time, even small demands can feel like too much. Your system becomes cautious. It conserves energy. It hesitates before committing. That hesitation is not weakness, it's protection. And if you've spent years hearing messages like, "You have so much potential," or "You just need to apply yourself," those messages sit quietly in the background. Every time you go to start something, you're not just facing the task, you're facing accumulated expectation. No wonder your shoulders tense. This is why shame makes everything worse. When you interpret the freeze as proof that something is wrong with you, you add another layer to the weight. Now you're not just starting a task, you're trying to repair your self-image. That's too much for a single first step to carry. The shift begins when you stop treating the pause as a verdict. Instead of asking, "What's wrong with me?" you might ask, "Why does this feel heavy right now?" That question is softer, and softness matters. Often the heaviness becomes clearer once you look at it directly. Maybe it's uncertainty about how to do it well. Maybe it's fear of disappointing someone. Maybe it's simple fatigue. Naming the weight reduces its size. Vague dread is enormous. Specific discomfort is manageable. But the most important reframe is this: starting doesn't need to be dramatic. You don't need a surge of motivation. You don't need a new system. You don't need to transform your personality. You need the first move to feel lighter. Notice how your mind frames it. I have to finish this. I need to get back on track. I should have done this already. Those sentences are heavy. They carry judgment and urgency. What happens if the frame shifts? Not to something overly positive, just something neutral. I'm going to look at this for a moment. I'm going to write one imperfect line. I'm going to sit here without attacking myself. When the first move stops being a test and becomes a contact, resistance lowers. This isn't about breaking a task into 20 pieces. It's about removing the hidden contract that says starting equals finishing perfectly. When your system senses that it's being pushed into a marathon, it resists. When it senses that it's allowed to begin without commitment to the outcome, it relaxes. And often, quietly, movement follows. Not always immediately, not always dramatically, but enough. If it doesn't, that doesn't mean you failed. It just means today the weight is higher. Some days are heavier. That's human. What changes over time isn't your personality, it's your relationship with the pause. When you stop interpreting hesitation as a flaw, the intensity of the freeze decreases. The second layer of judgment fades, and without that extra pressure, the first step feels less loaded. You might begin to notice that the stuck moment is information. It tells you something feels big. It tells you something matters. It tells you you're carrying more than you realized. Information is neutral. It doesn't accuse. And when you treat it that way, you stop fighting yourself. You've likely accomplished far more than you credit yourself for. You've handled complexity. You've met demands. You've shown up in ways that required focus and care. The idea that you're fundamentally lazy doesn't align with that history. The stall is situational. It's a moment where weight exceeds comfort, and comfort can be adjusted. The next time you're sitting there, aware, tense, waiting, see if you can remove the meaning from the first move. Let it be unimpressive. Let it be small. Let it be incomplete. You don't need intensity to begin. Sometimes you only need permission. Permission to start imperfectly. Permission to start lightly. Permission to start without proving anything. Action doesn't always begin with confidence. Often it begins with gentleness. And gentleness is not weakness. It's what lowers the weight enough for movement to happen. So if you find yourself paused again, remember, the stall is not your identity. It's a moment, a heavy one maybe, but still just a moment. You are not the hesitation. You are the person learning how to move through it.